Well, folks, welcome to Maldentalks with Joe Gray here in his campaign for school committee for Ward 6. And my name is Brian DeLacy, honored to be the guest host tonight that Joe invited me over to his studio. Joe's been doing this for a while with a few other candidates, huh, Joe? You've had these interviews?
During this election season, but I've actually been doing this show for years, on and off.
So maybe as you talk to us, because tonight we're here to talk about your candidacy for school committee, but maybe you could give a little background on yourself and your interests and also this whole Malden Talks activity.
Okay, my name is Joseph Gray. I'm running for the Malden's Ward 6 school committee position. I'm doing this because I care, I'm passionate, and if you've ever checked some of the local newspapers, I usually get maybe a half a sentence blurb, Joe Gray, that community activist, longtime activist. They never say activist for what, but I've been known around town to be championing a lot of causes for the schools, for the city, for the parks, the Fellsmere Hospital project, I got in on that. I'm helping out on High Rock, helping out on trash pickup in Maplewood Square. Sometimes I help out, I've been on the parent council at Malden High. My wife's on the governing board at Linden School, and we do a lot of work in the community. People ask me, why am I doing this? That's because I care, and I sort of want to be a symbol for what we can do. Every year there are budget fights. The budget gets cut and cut and cut. Services get cut, positions get cut, staff gets cut, teachers are on the chopping board. I don't like it. I've been fighting against it, and there have been a lot of issues through the years.
So what are the key activities and responsibilities of a school committee member in the context of all those activities?
The school committee, in my opinion, is more of an advisory and administrative board. Okay, it deals, in my opinion, with the high-level decisions of running the school department. Okay, the school committee doesn't get involved in day-to-day running. They don't make the schedules, who's in what classroom, or when the floors get cleaned. But they will deal with the high-level decisions such as the contracts for the maintenance department, repairs, managing, how many teachers we could have in each school, who the superintendent's going to be. A lot of high-level issues actually go through the school committee. And one of the biggest high-level issues every single year, I've said it before, is the budget. The perennial issue every year that the school committee has to wrestle with is they're handed a budget and they're forced to decide what to cut. If there's somebody not fighting for the children and the parents and the faculty, dangerous things could get cut.
Are there particular elements of the budget that in the past have drawn your attention, and what would be your priorities in the future?
There's so many elements over the years, I can't recall them all. One of the more explosive ones that hit, I think a year or two ago, was when the school committee was forced to cut busing. Everyone's here was on fire. Talk about disabled children, families who had no transportation or they're on welfare. Some families were literally forced to lose their jobs because now the parents have to be concerned with how to get their child across town to and from school. And these are younger children. When we're talking first, second, third grade, it's kind of not safe to be taking public transportation by themselves. And just recently, this past year, another recent program that it got cut was after school program. More complaining, more angst from parents, because now in a meeting with the superintendent and the mayor, parents were recently complaining this year that because after school was cut, there's nowhere for their children to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to force to quit their jobs to stay home and take care of the children. These are problems.
And that was announced pretty much right at the end of the school year, huh?
Yes,
Wasn't it?
yes. There was a lot of apologizing after the fact, but what can you do? The budget's the budget.
Right.
And
And in that case, my understanding is...
after the fact, once it was announced, parents fought and fought and fought and came up with a compromise to get some sort of after-school program in place because it was devastating to a lot of families. But that's the sort of issues we have to fight for. Let me put it this way. I hope I don't sound negative, but here's a scenario we have to look at. The funding for Malden Public Schools increases approximately 3% per year. That's additional money the school department in Malden gets every year. I'm dealing with round numbers. But every single year, expenses to run the Malden Public School system increases 7 to 8% for electricity, water, maintenance, salaries, pensions, you name it. So if expenses are going up 7 to 8%, but the budget only increases 3%, there's going to be battles every year. And if somebody doesn't advocate for the children, they could lose.
So you're running for Ward 6.
Yes.
Does that mean you focus mostly on Ward 6 residents and their families and students, or
No.
the school committee, you take more of a citywide view?
It's kind of a no-win situation. I kind of sort of have to take a more general view because there are no physical public schools located in Ward 6. So
So the school committee only deals with, you're responsible for the public schools, not the charter schools, for
That's
instance,
mostly.
which does have
There's
locations.
a tangent overlapping responsibility with the charter school, but not directly. The public schools and the charter schools need to coordinate on certain issues such as like public safety. Say what if there's an active shooter problem over at Salemwood and the children have to be evacuated, maybe they could be moved down the street to the charter school for safety temporarily till the parents get home.
And even simple things like crossing guards
Yes,
are shared by the school systems.
Yes, there are overlapping plans in place to deal with security issues between the public schools, the charter schools, and the religious schools in town, such as the one in Maplewood Square. It's this shared responsibility, but since there's no physical public school in Ward 6, I feel I would probably lean more on some of the surrounding ones, say like Forestdale, Salemwood, and Linden, since they're physically adjacent to Ward 6. My children, I send them to a lot of events at Salemwood. I know a lot of Ward 6 families who send their children to Forestdale. My children have all attended the Linden. So my wife and I have close ties to all 3 of those public schools, even though none of them are in Ward 6. So I'd be working on projects at Linden, Salemwood, and the Forestdale.
Fascinating. Question, you mentioned earlier the budget issues around busing and that came up and moving students around the city. It's my understanding that a very large percentage of the city's English language learner students attend Salemwood. And in other words, they're bused from all parts of the city to Salemwood for that special type of education to support that. What do you think about that and the multicultural impact of that, and how might that impact families, particularly with some of these budgetary issues?
The budgetary issues and the multilingual, multicultural issues are kind of separate, in my opinion. under certain circumstances, some children are still being bused only because there are probably mandatory state laws that mandate certain things must be done regardless.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not optional, the city has to do it, even if it's at a loss. As far as the multilingual, multicultural, it's certain demographics seem to concentrate more or less in different parts of the city.
Mm-hmm.
We have a similar diverse population at the Forestdale, as well as the Salem Wood. I don't see how I would have a direct impact on that, and I'm not sure where that topic goes. There are different organizations in town that are advocating for more diverse teaching staff, which is a very complex and controversial whole in the public school system. It's not very diverse in the teaching staff.
Interesting.
It's not intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but logistically that's how it ended up being for whatever reason. For instance, it's difficult to hire minority teachers who want to come and teach in this town. Okay? It's
Surprising given the diversity of the city and the school system.
No.
What do you think?
It's not that. I'm just giving you my opinion. It has nothing to do with that. The diversity of the city is literally a non-issue, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what the teaching staff wants. If you have, for instance, a bidding war statewide for minority teachers in different communities, Malden can't compete. We can't pay them to come here for either A, the pay, or B, satisfaction. Okay, if people just aren't interested in this physical area for either the pay or anything else, we can't force them. So now we have a chicken and the egg paradox. It's a diverse community, but how do you make people be interested in an area that they may not be interested in?
Is that something you might take some initiative on if you were to be elected to the school committee?
You see, but I'm already addressing that. Right this instant, I'm already addressing that. How do you make people want something they don't want? It's a paradox. We can ask for it. We can put incentives, but then if we put incentives for it, then that creates a backlash. Because why are we giving certain individuals more money than other people to do the same job? It's more about the area. I don't believe it's an attractive area for more minority teaching staff to teach. If they would feel more comfortable in other towns, other locales, and they can get paid more in other cities or other towns, then why?
So you really have to look at this as a big picture kind of.
This is a big
tackle.
picture thing.
Yeah.
One of the issues they're tackling on this with the superintendent and the mayor of the city is to attempt to foster a certain amount of what's the term? Patriotism, sort of. If we could say grow our own faculty for the future, since we have a diverse population of students, maybe we could encourage them to get a teaching degree, become teachers, scholarships, exactly,
mentorships,
and hopefully encourage them. Okay, once you've become a professional teacher, come back to the community and give back. I think that's one of the best ideas I've seen.
That is great.
Otherwise, you can't force people to do something they don't want to do.
That's a great idea.
I know I'm sounding negative. But it's sort of emotional and financial.
So let's pick off a couple of
Sure.
hot topics that are going around. So recently you had a picnic up in Grafton Park.
Yes.
Right? And you had some ideas, it sounded like, for doing more of that with students. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Not so much with students, but
Mhm.
more or less generally with families. I'm trying to, in my own way, I'm trying to learn how to reach out to the neighbors, reach out to the families in the ward. We have a massive park, Trafton Park, that nobody touches. The park is being unused. Just this past week, after I did my picnic in the park, open to everyone, one of the neighbors, someone who no longer lives here in Malden, saw the photographs, some of which you took, and they said, I'm paraphrasing, they'd lived next to Trafton Park for 15 years. It never occurred to them to walk across the street and have a picnic in Trafton Park. And they were shocked.
Yeah. Well,
They were happy.
it was good you did that. Halloween, I think,
I'm trying to organize something for Halloween. During the picnic last weekend, met some local children in Trafton Park who came over. I said, hey, come and have some fun. I didn't know who they were, some young boys. So they came back and they brought their own little plastic table and they had their own picnic with me and my wife and the family in Trafton Park. And it was a nice time to engage the children, to engage the families, to show people what's possible in this community. You can you feel my passion?
Yeah, you love it. Yeah.
I love it.
Let's hit you with a couple of quick ones.
Sure.
That are dicey issues that seem to be going around.
Oh, they're all dicey.
Vaping. Talk about vaping.
I hate it.
Why and what to do about it, more importantly. So why do you hate it, number one? And number two,
it's emotional.
What do you do about it?
It's emotional. Okay? I'm not going to hit you with all sorts of wonky scientific lingo. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I'm paranoid. Okay? I don't like those things. Other people can do it, that's fine. If you're an adult, you can do it, that's fine. But for the last, say, 5, 6, maybe nearly 7 years, early on, years ago, when I was in the parent council at Malden High, at least 5, 6 years ago, we were presented, we got presentations on the vaping problem in Malden High. This is 5 or 6
years ago.
Yeah, years ago.
Years ago. Yeah.
And we saw a chart where the vaping problem was going like this.
Yep.
And that was 5 or 6 years ago, and we were concerned.
And it did that pretty much between last year and the year before as well.
It's still going up.
Yep.
I think it's a dangerous situation. I don't like it.
So if you're on the school committee,
as the years go by, there's more and more scientific information that's starting to build that this is dangerous for young children.
pretty clear nicotine impacts brain development in young people.
But
And that's not good.
there are already programs in place to stop it in the school. At least at Malden High, there's a policy against it. They actually have monitors who roam the halls, and if they catch anyone vaping in their lockers, in the hallways, it's removed from them. There is already a no vaping policy. But the amount of vaping increases. The kids
Despite
say
the policy.
there's no real consequences. So the very next day, the same kids who were told not to vape, who had the vaping materials removed from them and destroyed, just doing it again the next day.
Other things that are both challenges and opportunities
Yeah.
for young people as well as social media. You're you're a tech expert in many ways and a media expert in many ways as well.
That is another paradox.
What do you think about that for younger people? What's appropriate as well as for older people?
There's no appropriate answer. Every child is different. Depending on in my opinion, the family situation. Social media can work for some children, but it's dangerous for others. But you can't know that ahead of time. It pretty much comes back to the family, how the families run, and how they manage their children. Sometimes, as a parent, you have to put your foot down and take them away, and just drag them out of it, and then do things outside. My children They deal a lot in social media, but we try to find balance. Like for instance, right now, my son, my eldest son, just turned 17. This weekend, he had to go to a tour at New York University, college tours. My wife takes tours. So my wife decided to make an event out of it and took my older daughter and my younger son, so all three children, to New York for this weekend. So this weekend, they're going to parks, they're going to museums. They were just at the Empire State Building.
Amazing.
There's a picture of my wife, you know, in the Empire State Building, a giant King Kong hand reaching through a window holding her. They're offline.
Yeah.
They're walking around doing things in the real world.
In the real world, not the virtual world.
But that comes back to the parents and the family taking the initiative to at least pull the kids out of that environment and show them there's a real world out there.
In terms of the campaign trail, what's it look like for you? Is it knocking on doors? Is it meeting people in the grocery store? Is it?
It's all of the above. Although I do have a mobility problem, I'm not moving around as much because of some medical problems I've had. Have you ever heard of pedal edema?
I have not.
Okay, well, some of you out there may look it up. You know, swollen legs. So I've suffered a lot of damage to the muscle tissue in both legs. So now I walk with a cane. But when I meet people at the senior center, the grocery stores, or even in Trafton Park, I'm walking around talking to people in church, wherever. And people come up to me and say, "Hey Joe, I heard you're running." And then they ask me why, and I told them why. And there are a lot of issues there, and it's tough on the campaign trail.
Yep.
I've been through it several times, and to be perfectly honest, politics is rough. But my motivation is, I was in the military. I tell people this all the time. When a job needs to get done and somebody needs to do it, it's time to step up.
Good for you. Yep.
So sort of like, you know, trying to get residents interested in using Trafton Park, talking about it for years and years and years, and I finally said, you know what, time to do something. Either win or lose, either succeed or fail, at least you have to try.
Well, I think all the people out there will appreciate your leadership in the community, Joe, and all the things you've done over the years. And if people do want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Is it a phone call or an email or?
My phone number is public. Actually, you can go to my Facebook page and it's right there if anybody wants to look.
And the Facebook page is Joe Gray or?
Ward 6 Joe Gray.
Great.
My number is 781-248-7354. Almost forgot my own number.
Well, I think you got it. You want to repeat it again just for the
781-248-7354. If anybody wants to volunteer in any capacity, or just go out and talk, or just ask questions. My phone number, my email address is public. The city clerk has made sure my phone number is public and my email address. You can always look it up on the city's website. And I'm here for the children, the citizens, the parents. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it because I'm a fighter. When there's a big fight, when something needs to get done for the community, I at least like to try. You know, and if it's not me, if there's somebody else, if there's a team already in place, I'll go join that team and fight. Just like when the Fellsmere Heights issue came up, I said, you know what, this is a cause, I'm gonna join that fight. Over the years, I've joined random fights, like sometimes there were issues going on at City Hall with budgeting and staffing that I didn't like. So I went down to I think it's the Malden Education Association, the headquarters for the teachers union, and I joined their phone bank. I'd sit there in the phone bank and I'd make calls on behalf of the teachers union, Sometimes I'm on the side of the teachers union, sometimes I'm not. It's all depends on the issue. But every time I'm on the side of the children. Do you know why?
That's the best
You know
place
why?
to be. Why? Why?
Okay, do we have a
We-
extra
we-
minute?
This is your chance to close. And after Joe closes, what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice little write-up on this on Malden News Network. There's this guy, Bill Muse, who's actually sitting behind the camera, that is gonna help us get the word out of what you're doing. And you're gonna continue to do these kinds of interviews?
I'm going to try.
over
I'm going to
time?
try.
Yeah.
I'm working on. I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But just so
But
everybody knows.
this is your chance to close.
Yes,
and
just so
give the
everybody.
people the pitch why, Joe, they should vote for you when they get to the
Well,
polls.
here's a backstory.
Mhm.
Not so much why they should vote for me. A backstory how I originally got involved in this. Nearly 10 years ago, there was a problem at the Linden School. The roof was in disrepair, it was leaking, pieces of the roof were crumbling and falling off. The school bell was in danger of falling off and crushing somebody, probably killing one of the children. I got upset.
Mm.
Apparently there was a discussion in the cemetery department in the city. The cemetery department, the board of directors made a decision to gift $500,000 to the school department to do repairs on the school.
Wow.
And I said, oh, that's nice.
Hmm.
It's gonna get fixed. My children, everybody else's children is gonna get safe.
Mhm.
At the city council level, some of the city councilors said no. I went ballistic.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it was kind of a rage.
Mhm.
You know, I said, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the city budget, doesn't
Yeah.
affect the school budget, doesn't affect the dead people.
Affects the kids though.
The board of directors, the cemetery said, you know what? Our living children need that money more than new grass on the dead people.
Interesting. Good story. Yeah. Yeah.
So I fought and fought and fought. I showed up at every subcommittee meeting,
Yeah.
every full meeting, and I couldn't understand why the city councilors wouldn't change this.
Mhm.
So somebody slipped me a video.
Mhm.
I said, oh, a video showed the inside of the classroom being rained on.
Mhm.
It looked like a rainforest
Yeah.
inside the classroom.
Mhm.
Classroom unusable for weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
So I took that video, I put it on social media. Almost the entire city council turned on a dime. The mayor called me the next day,
Mhm.
personally.
Mhm.
Said, Joe, we're gonna get that school building fixed.
Mhm.
The city council, I sat there and I just crossed my fingers. Yeah.
Well
It
done.
was an 11-1 vote.
Well done.
I
Yeah.
turned the entire city council around except
Yeah.
for one city councilor
Yeah.
because I fought. And people said, Joe, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing this by yourself. I said, well, join me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to fight the city council and the school committee by myself
Yeah.
just to get repairs done at the school.
Yeah.
But people wouldn't. I said, you know what? You know, if I'm doing this by myself, I'm doing this by myself.
Yeah.
But my children are in that school, and I'm going to do something, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I got sucked in to the issues in the school
Good for you.
system.
Yeah.
And
Thank
it's been, what, nearly a decade?
Yeah.
And I've been watching ever since.
Yeah. Well,
And
hey,
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Joe, keep at it. And so we're signing off now for Malden Talks. And but really, the last minute pitch here is join Joe in his campaign for his school committee, because no matter what the results are, the outcome is going to be good for the kids. So thank you very much, Joe.
Win or lose, it's not going to end. Thank you.